Life on the road can be an exciting and amazing time in your life. But please adhere to my words and don't fall into these three traps that musicians often fall into when traveling on the road. It's an exciting time to be on the road. Whether you're in a low-level entry band and you're just starting out, or you're playing with Keith Urban. It's exciting to be on the road. I have done low to mid-level tours. I've never done any big name touring at all. But I can explain from my experiences at the low to mid-range that there's three pitfalls that all musicians can potentially fall into that you absolutely don't want to fall into. So let's start with the first one. The first thing is alcohol and drugs. Pretty obvious. So many guys fall into the trap of getting stuck in limbo because of their alcohol and or drug abuse. Life on the road is a party in their minds. And the truth be told is it's the exact opposite. It's actually not a party. It's just that you've seen Motley Crue, Guns N' Roses, Kiss, you see all these glamorous rock bands out on tour and they're partying like crazy and they're picking up chicks and all that fun stuff. But what they don't realize is the other side of that, the hangovers, the addiction that causes them to miss performances, the inability for them to function normally, the fights that go on because of the alcohol and drug use on tour. None of that is glamorous, people. None of that is glamorous. So I want you to take your idea of glamour on the road and throw it out the window. Get rid of it. Because when you're on tour with a guy that non-stop drinks or non-stop injecting themselves with poison or smoking dope non-stop, it's hell, because I've been there, done that. Now, I personally have never been one to do a lot of drinking, and I do zero drug use on the road. To me, it's a job. You're an employee technically, and you are there to perform. You're not there for constant partying. Obviously, when you're 20 years old and your first time out on the road, there's an element of partying. I get it. Been there, done that. However, when you mature and get into the professional world of music, you've got a job to do. If you fail to do that job, you're going to get fired. It's as simple as that. Unless you're in Van Halen and you're David Lee Roth. Well, actually, David Lee Roth got fired, so that's a bad example. Ozzy Osbourne and Black Sabbath. The guys in the band just couldn't take his drug use, his incessant partying, and his inability to perform because he was always so drunk and high. So he got kicked out of Black Sabbath. So don't think that just because you're the front man of a band, you're not going to get kicked out. Because I can tell you right now, you will get kicked out if you are going to abuse yourself on tour. You've got to be ready for every show. People are paying money to see you, big money in some cases, and you have to be able to give them a great show night after night after night after night. I can remember studying with Zorro the drummer, Lenny Kravitz's drummer, and I asked Zorro, how do you keep yourself mentally fit for every show? And he said to me something that really rung home because I knew exactly what he was talking about. He said to me, think about those times when you were in high school and you're sitting in math class and you're bored out of your mind and you can't wait to get home to play your drums. You're so excited. All you can think about is, when is this math class going to be over so I can get home to play my instrument and have fun and listen to music and do what I love most? That's what you have to think about every time before a show. You're about to go out to entertain people. They paid a lot of money. you're excited. So when you're backstage, you get yourself pumped up, you get warmed up on a pad, and you get ready to do the greatest show you've ever done. And that's what you have to do for every single show. Now, if you're recovering from a hangover, coming down from being high, and all you're thinking about is your next hit, you're not going to be able to provide your audience with that exciting show that you really, really should put out. There's always exceptions. There's always guys that can perform under these conditions. I get it. But if you've ever watched, there's a video of Scott Weiland from Stone Temple Pilots performing, and he's totally wasted and he can't sing and the performance is terrible and the band's really pissed off at him and even the audience is reacting to like, what the hell is wrong with this guy? He is doing an injustice to his band and to his audience and to the world for that matter. Anyone that watches the video like I did, I wasn't at the show. I've seen them live. He was okay when I saw them. He was a little bit off, but not totally off like in this one particular video. So I've always put it on myself to take what Zorro the drummer told me to heart. And I always thought to myself, every show, play it like it's your last. That's the old saying, right? So stay away from the booze and the drugs when you're on tour. Socially, no big deal. But I'm talking about constant drinking on the tour, constant smoking, constant, drug use, that sort of thing. It is not the place to go. And recently, Kiss, Gene Simmons, put out a statement about how he feels that most rock bands, they're losers. And at first I thought, what is he talking about? Why is he calling out his fellow rock stars as losers? Gene, who is a genius when it comes to band manipulation, meaning putting out a show and getting hype and excitement created for a band, I don't think there is any other band, and I'm not a huge Kiss fan or a huge Gene Simmons fan, but I do agree with Gene on this topic. He has put that band out in front of people and created unbelievable excitement, probably more than any other band, in terms of a show with the flames and the costumes and the loud rock and roll music. And they've exemplified the rock and roll lifestyle in their shows. But Gene doesn't live the rock and roll lifestyle in the sense of getting drunk and high all the time. And that's why he called out his fellow rock stars and just said, look, he basically said the things that I'm saying right now, that you've got to perform to your audience. You have responsibilities and you need to take your responsibilities serious. When you're out on the road and all you're thinking about is your party lifestyle and you're not taking your responsibilities serious, you're a loser. That's what Gene's talking about. And I tend to agree with this. I'm not, like I said, I'm not a big fan of Gene, but I do agree with him that you've got responsibilities and you've got to live up to those responsibilities the whole time you're on that road. Now, one of the things that I noticed was that management of the band always tries to keep everybody in this little bubble so that they can keep track of you. And then when somebody gets outside of that bubble, that's when the trouble begins. So that leads me to number 2 about things you shouldn't do on tour. Do not leave the tour. In other words, you get off the bus, you get out of the van, the RV, whatever vehicle you're in, and you decide to bugger off somewhere on your own. That can lead to trouble, especially if there's alcohol and drug related to that as well. Now, the number one reason why guys leave the tour, temporarily, of course, is women. So when you're on tour, do not get sucked into that trap of, come with me, come back to my place after the show, and you meet a girl, she comes back in green room, or you meet her, say you're playing a bar gig, you meet her in the bar or whatever. The worst thing you can do is fall into the trap of going off with this girl, because you just don't know what you're going to get yourself into. I've heard of guys getting tied up. I've heard of guys getting robbed, getting all their shit stolen, being, manipulated in the sense of, oh, just stay with me for another day, whatever. And then they miss getting back on the bus. They miss the show, and then they're failing at their job to provide entertainment to whoever shows up to their show. They're also failing to their bandmates, to the management of the band, and the whole thing can collapse. And you're failing yourself because you're going to lose your job. And this happened to me when I was on tour, where the drummer kept disappearing in one of the other bands that I was on tour with. And I ended up having to fill in for him. And I started filling in for him often, and then they got fed up with him and he got fired, and I ended up doing the remainder of their shows. Now, luckily, it was sparse at the beginning of the tour. It did increase as we moved along, and then I think the last 2 weeks he got fired, and I ended up doing the remainder of that band's shows. Now, it's nice to make extra money on the tour, but man, that was exhausting and put a lot of stress on me. I did it, but it was stressful because he just didn't know what was going to happen with this guy. So don't fall into the trap. You meet a beautiful young girl. You want to go off with this beautiful young girl somewhere, but you don't know there's a hidden agenda oftentimes these groupies have. Or even not necessarily a groupie, because usually groupies want to hang out with the band. Wherever the band goes, they want to be. But a girl that tries to pry you away from the band to go somewhere with them to their house, their apartment, maybe even their boyfriend's house because he's got a gun set up and he's ready to rob you. Like, you've got to be aware of your surroundings. And if you're drunk and high, you combine number one with number two, that's a total disaster on tour. And this is what management fears, and that's why they established that bubble, is because of the alcohol, the drug abuse, and of course, women. They can be trouble. Now, on the flip side, women who are on tour, generally speaking, do not get pulled away by men at the same rate. It's the weakness of men. I'm sorry, guys, but it's true. Women, I haven't been on tour with a lot of women, to be totally honest. I've been on tour with some, but they've never left. It's dangerous for them to leave, plain and simple. Especially when you don't know where you are. You're off somewhere in Northern Ontario, or you're in a different province, or you're in a different country, and you don't know the area, you don't know the people. It's dangerous, men or women, to leave the tour because you just don't know where this can end up, okay? Now, that leads me to issue number 3. Now, issue number 3 is sort of something that can happen as a result of issue 1 and issue 2, and that is band arguments and band fighting. You've got to learn on tour to get along with people. Oh, this is huge. This is a huge one. I think it's the hugest one out of the 3. If you're the type of person that is a loner, if you're the type of person that can't handle being around people a lot, if you're the type of person that's argumentative, if you're the type of person that's demanding, impulsive, all these sort of weaknesses in human behavior, touring is not for you. Because one thing I learned very quickly on tour is you have to get along. I don't understand how bands can go out on tour and immediately they start fighting. The tour is a 3-month, 6-month, even an extended 9-month tour, and you're not getting along. And then every show becomes a nightmare. Every night on that bus becomes a nightmare. Every day in that van, in that car, you're with somebody or with a group of people that you don't want to be around. That's a disaster. So you've got to be able to learn how to cope. You've got to be able to learn how to deal with people properly. Don't annoy people with your dumb, stupid habits like unclean. Make sure you shower and you are clean for your bandmates. Not even so much for the fans per se. If you're meeting them in the back room and stuff, you're going to be sweaty. I get it. But after that show is over and you're getting into a small area, you've got to make sure that you are clean for your bandmates. I can't stress that enough. I can't tell you how many times I've been in these small vehicles with stinky bandmates. It creates fights. The other thing is, when you're on tour, always be ready for the show. And don't skip out on sound check. Oh my God. You skip out on sound check, you're pissing your bandmates off. You've got responsibilities on this tour, and one of them is sound check. It's not just the show. You're not freaking Motley Crue's drummer, Tommy Lee. He's one that he hates sound check. He likes to go and get his sound guy to do the sound check for him. Well, this aggravated his bandmates because guess what? Even though his drum tech is an accomplished drummer himself, he doesn't necessarily play as much as Tommy Lee. Now, apparently, Tommy doesn't go to sound check anymore because he doesn't need to, because he's not playing live drums. They're playing with tracks now. That's the word on the street. There is no live drums at Motley Crue shows. I cannot verify that 100%, but I have seen a few videos and I've read a few articles, and I talked to a couple of people that know a little bit about this, and they're telling me that he does not play with live drums. He's on stage and he is faking it. So Dr. Feelgood is not feeling good because he is faking the whole show and he's playing to a track. And I understand they started playing with tracks because of Mick having his disease. My sister died. My sister Brenda died of the same disease that Mick Mars has. I can't remember what it's called off the top of my head, but my sister died of that. Basically, what slowly happens to your body is you turn to stone. Mick has the same disease. It's hard to move his fingers. It's hard for him to play. I understand that they wanted to put a track for Mick because it was hard for him to play. For medical reasons, Mick started playing with a backing track. I sort of understand it. Still not the greatest, but that's why they started doing that. Then the other guys in the band thought, gee, this makes life a lot easier if we really don't have to play. Now, it's normally vocalists that play and lip sync, right? Now bands are syncing. I don't know what you call it. What do you call it? Musician sync? Musical sync? I don't know what they call it. I don't know what the name is. Faking it. Maybe that's a good name for it. But Mick started that, and then the rest of the guys thought, hey, this is great. How easy it is to play the show. And Tommy, no sound check. So I'm not a big fan of that. Personally, I think you're robbing your fans if you're not performing live. They might as well just watch you on YouTube or listen to your records, for that matter, if they want to see a faked show. So anyways, those are the three things, guys. If you're out on tour, they all link in together, though. I have to admit, it's three things, but they constantly overlap and run into one another. But you have to stay away from those three things for some success. Now, there are more. I just focused on three main major things, okay? You want to be able to get along with your band. You want to stay away from the groupies and women that are involved coming into the show and trying to take you away to create problems for everybody in the band. And of course, you want to stay away from the booze and the drugs. Stay clean on tour. Be focused on the music. Think about your bandmates. Be courteous. Be happy. Have fun. The tour is going to be so much better if you can stay away from those three things and focus on the music, making the fans happy, making your bandmates happy, and making yourself happy in the end. You're making money, and everybody is going to be happy in the end if you can abide by my 3 tour rules. Thanks a lot for watching, and as always, keep drumming. Oh, one other thing, I just want to thank my new subscribers, because I've gotten a recent rash of them. Thank you very much. And I also want to thank commenters on my video where I was talking about how I was losing some motivation for the channel. But I really want to thank all of you guys that have uplifted me, and I'm starting to feel a little bit better about things. And I'm going to keep drumming myself. I'm going to keep drumming. And of course, I'm going to keep pumping out the videos. So thanks very much for watching. Like and subscribe. See ya.